Hi everyone, my name is Kathryn Agnas. I'm a data scientist at the New York City Campaign Finance Board, and I'll be sharing with you all our research findings on New York City's performance with RCV since its implementation in 2021. Okay. So first, what is the New York City Campaign Finance Board? We are a city agency that provides access to New Yorkers the resource that they need to run for office or to vote. One, we manage New York City's Matching Funds program, which is a program that allows candidates to fundraise their campaigns by reaching out to the members of the communities that they want to represent instead of concentrating on big donors. And it just gives New York City residents a larger voice in elections as their contributions are matched with public dollars. To learn more about the program, feel free to check out our website on New York City Votes. I have some sources linked at the end of the presentation. And second, we educate and engage voters through NYC Votes. And going on to my role, first I work as the agency's open data coordinator. So if you have any questions on our data sets on the open data portal, feel free to shoot me an email, which I have listed at the end. And going on to my second part on my role in the agency, I fulfill our analyses on voter behavior, and a lot of my work contributes to our voter analysis report, which is our annual report that we are mandated to write by the city charter, and it provides a comprehensive analysis of the year's election that includes ballot proposals, policy recommendations, and voter behavior trends. And actually, these two reports I have listed over here, the 2021 voter analysis report and the 2023 report, I'll be giving a deep dive of New York City's performance in each of those ranked choice voting elections. Next slide. And I'll be giving you a little roadmap, so I'll be giving an introduction to RCV, give you a rundown on how to properly mark your ballot, and show how votes are tabulated. And I'll give you a little preview of the cast vote record, which is the data set that we use for our analysis. And I'll be presenting you all our research findings and some closing takeaways, and some time for a Q&A. Next slide, please. Next slide. So what is ranked choice voting? RCV is a way for voters to elect their representatives. Instead of the traditional single choice elections where voters elect one candidate, with RCV, voters can rank up to 5 candidates in each race. Next slide. Next slide. And when marking your ballot, you pick your first choice candidate, and you fill next to the candidate's name on the first choice column. And you have a second choice candidate, you fill next to the candidate's name in the second choice column right over here. And you repeat this process for your remaining choices. You can just rank one candidate, or you can rank more, or all of your ranks. It's completely up to the individual voter to decide for themselves. Next slide. And there are a few common errors that voters can make when marking their ballot. One that I want to highlight includes overvoting, which occurs when a voter ranks multiple candidates, as you see over here, in the same rank. And this counts as an error because it's unclear as to who the voter intended to vote for as their first choice. And I do want to note that overvoting in the first rank will invalidate your ballot, so I would try to avoid that in any way possible. And going on to the next slide, please. Another error includes duplicate ranking, where a voter ranks the same candidate in all of their ranks. There's no strategic benefit to doing that. That won't equal to like 5 candidates to the purple candidate, unfortunately. It'll only equal to like 1 vote for that candidate. However, I do want to note that ranking other candidates do not hurt your first choice. It actually gives you options in the case that your first choice candidate gets eliminated. Next slide, please. Next slide. And I'll be giving you a rundown of how the vote counting process looks. So this is just an example. Next slide, please. So the vote counting process starts when all first choice votes are counted, and whichever candidate has a majority threshold, which is represented by this dotted line, which is 50%, that candidate is the outright winner. In this case, none of the candidates had the majority votes. So this process goes on to another round that considers the voters' second through fifth choices. And so far we see orange in the lead with 30% of the votes cast. Next slide, please. And as each round progresses, the candidate with the least amount of votes gets eliminated. So unfortunately, the yellow candidate gets eliminated, and the 5 votes for the yellow candidate gets redistributed to the other candidates if those 5 voters had a second choice on their ballot. And this process continues until there are 2 candidates remaining left, and the candidate with the most votes is the winner. Next slide. So the green gets eliminated, and the votes get redistributed. We still see orange in the lead. Next slide. And now we see the tables turn. So after the pink candidate gets eliminated, we see the purple in the lead with 46 votes, but we still don't have 2 candidates left. So going on to the next slide, please. So after the blue candidate gets eliminated, we see that the purple candidate has the majority votes, and they are the winner. So that's how the vote counting process looks. Next slide, please. And going on to RCV in New York City. Oh yeah, next slide, please. So RCV was adopted as Proposition 1 in the November 2019 general election by the Charter Revision Commission of that year. The proposition passed after receiving overwhelming approval among nearly 3/4 of the electorate. I do want to repeat again that this reform was approved by the voters, and since then, the voting system has now been used in special and primary elections to elect the city-wide offices of mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. Next slide. And why New York City chose RCV? So New York City, like the rest of the country, has been dealing with suffering from low turnout, negative campaigning, and candidates winning in single choice elections that only represent a small percentage of the electorate. And RCV helps improve the representativeness of the voting system. And 2, RCV addresses the problems with single choice elections and runoff elections, as back then, in primary elections in the past, candidates would be elected in single choice elections, and a runoff election would occur in the case that no candidate receives the majority. The issue with this is that it puts voters in a position where they are forced to return for a second election, which is the runoff election, and a third election, which is a general election. And this could influence like a decline in turnout, increased voter fatigue, where voters develop disinterest, apathy in elections when they are requested to attend frequent elections, which we want to avoid. So RCV helps avoid a primary runoff, and we avoid the cost of one. And third, RCV gives voters the ability to stretch out their vote, as voters can cast a vote for another candidate in the case that their first choice gets eliminated. And in the case that a voter's first choice candidate gets eliminated, their rankings remain important in determining who is the winner of that race. And lastly, RCV gives opportunities to more diverse candidates, specifically women and people of color. Fair Votes, which is a research organizations which has done extensive research in RCV, has found that in cities, for example, like San Francisco, has seen that RCV did not have a negative impact on the candidacy of women and people of color in office. In fact, we see the increased probability of folks from these groups winning these elections in comparison to single choice elections. Next slide. And now we're going on to the data part. Next slide, please. So the data set that we use for our analysis is a cast vote record. It is an anonymized table of voters' candidate rankings. And what I mean by anonymized means that it doesn't provide any sensitive information about the voter, like their name, where they live. You just basically have an idea of how voters utilize their rankings. And this data set is provided by the New York City Board of Elections, and it is publicly available and free. I'm going to repeat one more time. It's publicly available and free for everyone to use. Okay. And then next slide. We can find it at the New York City Board of Elections website. You would click on the certified election results, and that will lead you to the archive section that will show you all the past election years. So we can look at the 2023 RCV election, for example. And as you scroll through this folder, there should be a section that will allow you to download the data set. Next slide, please. And this is a demonstration of the cast vote record file heading. So in 2023, the data set came in with 12 files that are separated by ballot type and borough. However, we noticed multiple ballot ranking candidates were reflected across these files. So we had to do extensive recoding and reorganizing to put everything in concise format. And this is just how it looks when we put everything together. Unfortunately, I don't have every single column listed because that's just not going to fit on the screen. But this is just like a sample one, so you have an idea of how it looks especially for each voter. So the data set provides ballot type, which indicates like what vote method they use, whether it's in-person and election day, early voting, or other voting methods. There's a column that identifies their location, whether specifically an assembly district or election district. And we see these columns, these 5 columns that list, that say Dem Council Member Choice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This set of columns belongs to one of the 21 Democratic City Council races of that year, and it gives you a rundown of how each of these voters utilize their rankings. And there's a ID, which is a cast vote record column that just basically identifies the voter in the data set. And the meta information basically identifies where that data point was grabbed from those 12 files. Next slide. And this is how it looks when we put everything together. So the data set doesn't provide political district level information, so we had to merge an equivalency table from the Department of City Planning to identify Congress district, Senate district, Council district. And the data set also doesn't identify political party, which we need for our analysis to identify specific races. That's going to take up a whole entire presentation, but we do have technical documentation in the 2023 report where we explain how we identified specific variables. And as we look at the, so like the last row, but that was like choice 5. But as we see a cleaner column for all the Democratic City Council races. So like, as this belongs to one race, just imagine there being 22 sets. And like, it'll get a bit like overwhelming when we want to pay attention to like the Democratic City Council races, the Republican City Council races, and the Conservative City Council race. So like, we try to merge everything to one variable so we don't have to refer to so many races. So yeah, this is just how it looks when we put everything together. Next slide, please. And going on to our analysis findings. Next slide. So before I give you a rundown on the city's performance in 2021 and 2023, I do want to note some context. So in 2021, that was a big city election year where the following offices: mayor, public advocate, city comptroller, borough president, city council were on the ballot due to term limits. However, looking on to 2023, this year was an off-year election and city council was only on the ranked choice ballot. And 2023 was a much more subdued election year because there was a lack of higher profile citywide races like mayor and comptroller, and not every single city council district had a race. And lastly, there were a higher percentage of incumbents running in 2021 versus in 2023. Next slide. And the thing with incumbents is that they come with name recognition. They're known as the proven winner, and when you're a proven winner, people want to support as much as possible. And as we see in 2021, we see nearly 90% of the races decided in the first round, and we see in 2023, 37.5% of races were decided in the first round. And what I mean by decided in the first round, mean that there was a candidate in this race that had a majority of votes in the first round, and the RCB process didn't have to continue through more rounds. So those are things to note between these 2 election years. Next slide. And going on to our findings. Oh, I'm sorry. I think some of our, is it possible we could move the top part just so people can see the, thank you, Jolly.
Just click the black background and drag it.
Oh, okay. Okay, and going on to our first finding, we see that more than half of all voters in 2021 and 2023 ranked more than one unique candidate. And what I mean by one unique candidate means that that voter didn't rank the candidate purple in the first rank and candidate purple in the second rank. This voter ranked candidate purple in one rank and then candidate blue in another rank. So that would count for this case. Next slide. And in our research, we observed 2 types of errors in RCV. That includes fatal errors, which are errors that invalidate a voter's ballot. I actually gave you an example earlier, but I'll just give it a little refresher. But an overvote in the first rank is considered a fatal error in our research. And this is an example, as you see that this voter ranked multiple candidates on the first choice rank, and there are non-fatal errors which do not invalidate a voter's ballot. Although it doesn't invalidate a voter's ballot, it does indicate a fundamental misunderstanding on how to mark your ballot. And an example includes undervoting, which is considered a skipped rank where a voter leaves a rank empty. As we see on this example to the bottom right, this voter left the second choice empty. And overvotes and ranks other than the first rank is considered a non-fatal error. Next slide. And in 2021, 1.2% of ballots had a fatal overvote. However, we see the numbers improve in 2023 at 0.59%. Next slide. And our agency pays attention to percentage of fatal overvote rates in our city council districts to target our ranked choice voting education material. Explaining how to properly mark a ballot will continue to be NYC's focus, particularly in city council districts that surpass the citywide fatal overvote rate. And looking at 2021, we see that city council districts in the Bronx demonstrate higher percentages of fatal overvote rates, and we see mixed percentages in the rest of Queens, Brooklyn, and Upper Manhattan. And we do see Staten Island demonstrates lower percentage of fatal overvote rates. And going on to 2023, I do want to note that not every council district did not have a primary, so those districts were marked as white. But we see that city council districts in Upper Manhattan, the Bronx, and East Brooklyn demonstrate higher percentage of fatal overvotes in 2023, and we see mixed percentage reflecting the rest of Brooklyn and in Queens. Next slide. And going on to our ranking score, so our team developed a ranking score to allow us to compare ranking behavior among citywide offices and political districts while considering that the differences in ballot sizes. We felt that this score would provide a fairer assessment in comparison to descriptive statistics and average rankings, because it doesn't consider the fact that that every voter's ballot has a different number of available rankings. For example, in 2021, I believe the Democrats had the option to rank five choices on their ballot, but for the public advocate race, they only had 4 available rankings for that race. So it just allows for a fairer comparison. Next slide. And this is a demonstration of how the ranking score is calculated in the cast vote record. Oh, is it possible we can move this? Thank you. So I do want to note in this table, a 99 value represents an undervote or skipped ranked, and an NA value, which is a value that is not available, indicates that the voter did not have the opportunity to rank that choice, likely because there were fewer candidates on the ballot for that race. And I do want to note that these 99 and NA values were recoded by the CFB, and I'll be providing a rundown on each voter, example of each voter's ranking score. So as we look at voter A, it looks like they had 5 available rankings for that race. However, it looks like they only ranked 1 candidate. So voter A utilized 20% of the available rankings for that race. Voter B, it looks like they had 4 available rankings in that race, and they utilized 1 ranking. So it looks like that they utilized 25% of their available ranks. And voter C, they have 5. It looks like they have 5 available rankings for that race, and they used 4 of them. So the voter C utilized 80% of their available rankings. Next slide. And going on, some key ranking score top lines that I want to highlight. The average New Yorker ranked a little over half of their rankings, and only a very, 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 very small percentage of the New York City electorate attained a perfect ranking score. A perfect ranking score is considered when a voter utilizes every single available rank made available to them. And as we see in 2021, 0.82% of the electorate utilized all of their available rankings. However, we do see the numbers increase a bit in 2023. Things that we want to consider is that 2021, there were a lot of offices on the ballot, and this could influence decision fatigue, which is the idea where voters abstain from making decisions when they are requested to make more decisions in the ballot. However, in 2023, there was only city council on the ranked choice ballot. So those are some potential reasons due to these differences. Next slide. And we took our ranking score to another level by utilizing a multiple linear regression model to test the impact on average ranking score with demographic and voter behavior data at the council level. We utilized data for Democratic city council races because we found that a model that included all political parties did not have a significant impact on average ranking score. And our independent variables includes age, which we estimated from the voter file, race and education, which we collected from the 5-year estimates from the American Community Survey. However, the census doesn't provide this information at the council district level, but we did find that the ArcGIS Living Atlas layer provides these estimates at the council level. So that's where we collected that from. And we included our participation score, which is a score that our team developed to measure how often a registered voter turns out to vote. And it's calculated by dividing the number of elections that a voter voted in by the number of eligible elections that the voter could participate in. And you could read more about that in our participation score research in the 2019 report. And we also included the number of candidates running in the race. And these variables were considered from research, from ranking score research that Fairvote has conducted and our overall voter behavior research. And our dependent variable is our average ranking score at the council district level. Next slide. So in 2021, we see that the number of candidates running in a race has a significant impact on average ranking score. Looking at this model output to the right, we see that for each additional candidate running in a Democratic primary in 2021, the average ranking score goes up by 2.2 points. Next slide. I know sometimes looking at, sorry, is it possible we can move the little down? Thank you. I know sometimes looking at the model makes it a little tricky to understand what's going on, but I do have the city council districts in 2021 that have the highest average ranking score, and the city council districts that had the lowest average ranking score in 2021. And just re-explaining in more general terms, we see that in council districts that had a Democratic primary in 2021, those that had more council districts running in a race were likely to make more use of their available rankings. And we kind of see this this pattern reflected over here, that the districts with the highest average ranking scores has the most number of candidates running. And then we see over here the lowest average ranking scores. These have a pretty small number of candidates running. And could we go back to the last slide, please? Okay. Thank you. The remaining predictors did not have a significant impact on average ranking score, and our findings are similarly reflected from what folks from Fairvote have found. And it goes to show that part of ranking usage in 2021 may not be significantly influenced by demographic factors or voter behavior, but much more to the context of the election, which is what Fairvote has also highlighted in their work. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. Our findings go a different direction. We see that education significantly impacts average ranking score. Looking at this model, we see that for each unit increase in the percentage of residents with less than a high school diploma, the average ranking score goes down by 0.72 points. In more general terms, we just see that in council districts that had a Democratic primary in 2023, those that had a higher percentage of residents with less than a high school diploma were less likely to use their available rankings. And although it's a bit surprising that our findings go in a different direction in 2021 and what Fairvote has found, we do need to note that these elections are too different in nature, and we would like to acquire more cast vote record data for future elections to see if these patterns assist in the next city election year or in the next off-year election year. And I do want to note that the remaining predictors did not have a significant impact on average ranking score. Next slide. And closing takeaways. So more than half of New York City voters are expressing preferences for more than one unique candidate. Our fatal marking ballot errors have slightly improved in New York City in the past 2 years, 2 RCV elections. And we would like more RCV data to understand ranking usage in New York City as reflected from our ranking score research. And we would like to do more comparisons with other jurisdictions that use RCV. We actually do comparisons with other cities in our 2023 report, but I just didn't have time to report about that this time around. But we do fatal overvote comparisons with cities like Minneapolis, Oakland, and San Francisco. So feel free to check that out. And there's also many more metrics that weren't mentioned that includes bullet voting, skipped races, exhausted ballots, so many cool stuff that you can read in the 2021 and 2023 report. And lastly, we want to gain a qualitative understanding of ranking behaviors in New York City. I believe Fair Vote and Unite American Institute has conducted exit polls. They found that New York City voters they found the ballot marking process simple. They would like RCV to be utilized in future elections, and they embrace the opportunity of being able to rank other candidates. However, we want to understand voters' intention with marking their ballot. Why did this voter rank 2 candidates in the first rank? Why did this voter rank the candidate purple in all of their ranks? Did they think it was equivalent to 5 votes? Like, those are things that we want to understand. So we can figure out how we can improve our RCV education materials. And next slide. Yep, and that's all I have left. Thank you all for coming to my presentation. I want to thank Jamie Anno for showing me the ropes with the cast vote record. It took me like 5 months to understand the whole data set, so thank you so much. I want to thank Winnie Ng and the whole design team for bringing these visualizations to life, and the rest of the policy and research team. And I do want to note that our 2024 voter analysis report releases on April 30th, 2025. Do I still have time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We do a little rundown on young voters, unaffiliated voters, and we have some really cool policy recommendations. So check that out on our website, which I have linked below. And yeah, that's all I have. Thank you. Okay. Okay, if anybody has any questions. Oh, sorry. Oh, hi.
Yeah, sorry if I missed this because I came in a few minutes late. When you talk about it's good that people put more choices, right? Like 2 is better than 1 and 5 is better than 4. But why is it that, in the people's thought process, if they only really want the first 2 candidates, is there any good? Sorry. Is there any good to come out of voting for putting a candidate in each rank? That's what I wasn't understanding.
So every voter, this is up to themselves to decide however they want to use their ranks. Mm-hmm. But the thing with RCV, it just allows you to stretch out your vote in the case that your first choice candidate gets eliminated or they don't have as much support to win the race. So it just gives you more flexibility and just it makes you consider what you would want for another candidate in the case something were to happen. So
it doesn't benefit, let's say you only pick 2 out of 5. It doesn't benefit those 2 that you didn't pick anybody else. Is that what you're saying?
It doesn't benefit those 2. Oh, those 2 voters those 2 candidates that you rank?
Yeah, it's the same, it has the same impact on their candidacy.
For that, our team, Jamie, we haven't particularly examined the impacts of how that influences outcomes for candidates, but that's definitely something we want to look into. But there's at the end of the day, it just gives you more options to express your preferences. Mm-hmm. And in the case that let me just try to rephrase. Yeah, that's just pretty much. It just basically gives you more ability to express your preferences in the case that your first choice doesn't get elected. Mm-hmm. Next question, sorry.
I don't know, sorry if this is putting you on the spot, but do you remember how many ballots were exhausted in the past 2 races?
I don't have it at the top of my mind, but we do examine that in our 2020 both reports at the citywide level, so like feel free to check that out. Was there any other questions you had? Oh, okay. Next question.
I was wondering if you were able to break out the data by like whether it was a mail-in ballot versus an in-person voting, and like whether that would have an impact on how well people were filling things out.
We actually haven't explored that, but that's like something we would want to consider, especially with like how the New York City primary system has just changed, like has changed so much within like the past decade with like these new like vote methods. So that's something we would like to explore. So like that's a good point, but we haven't explored that yet. But
Is that in the data set?
Yes, so there's a column that says ballot method. It basically identifies the vote method that the voter utilized, where it's in person, election day, other voting methods like affidavits and such. So yes.
Awesome. Thanks.
Next question.
One of the earlier slides that RCV was implemented to improve voter turnout. Did you see anything in the data that it made any difference?
So our team is like, that's also in our like our list of like RCV like research agenda, but like we definitely want to see how like turnout has changed from before with single choice elections. One primary had a single choice election system, and with this new system, so that's like something we're like adding on for our research.
Hey, thank you.
Alex?
I think I'm following up on the first question. I'm just curious if I can just understand better when somebody ranks all of the choices, like all of the candidates, like say in this upcoming primary election, if someone were to rank all of them, and their least favorite is, I don't know, somebody with the last name that starts with the letter C. I'm not going to say who that is, but they put them as the last one, and that gives a vote to that person, right? So that's not necessarily a good thing if they don't want that person, right? Or
You also know how I guess it's up to the individual voter themselves to decide to like choose what candidate you want on your ballot.
You're giving weight to everyone you rank.
You're only giving weight to people you rank if everyone who comes before the person you ranked doesn't make it to the final two.
Okay.
So if, let's say, the thing that I'm very interested in ranked choice voting is if you don't like the top two candidates who everyone else likes, and you don't rank either of them, then you have effectively not voted in the final round of the election.
If those are the two final.
If those are the two final candidates,
Right.
after all of the rounds of iteration.
So you should rank them.
Well, it
least favorite,
depends
or-
on what you think is going to happen
Okay,
with
yeah.
everyone else. It doesn't mean that you should rank them. It's a little bit of,
strategy.
this is how you vote like the question
Yeah.
of how you vote strategically in ranked choice elections, I think is still kind of an open
Right.
question.
Yeah.
Why they're exploring it, yeah.
But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
So, like, to that point, hypothetically, if there was a deeply unpopular incumbent and another deeply unpopular former governor, but you did have a slight preference between the two, putting one of those as your fifth choice would be effective if you do think that will be the two remaining in the final round.
Yes.
Okay, that's good
That's
to know.
my hot take, personally, not professionally.
But that's only if you actually think they are going to be the final two. If you think that they're not, then you're better off leaving both off.
And it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So if everybody is worried about two people who nobody likes and everybody thinks, well, it's safer to put them somewhere, but nobody really wants them. Like maybe everyone should just vote for who they actually want. And maybe people should, oh, thank you. And maybe there should be a way for people who care about the election to talk about the options, the actual candidates, other than the people who we can't stop talking about and do not want.
Part of it is, do you have 5 people who you would rank ahead of the people who you don't like?
And do you think unknown is better than, like, known to be horrible?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. Yes. Oh, is there a mic?
Yeah,
For?
I guess I was just curious about, I'm kind of like new to this whole world of ranked choice voting. I work at the Civic Engagement Commission where we have voter language access. So right now we're thinking about how to do ranked choice voting education specifically in the 12 languages that we serve. And I guess I was curious with like the comparison between the different years and how there was like an effort to create more education around ranked choice voting. Is there any specific type of like format that was more successful in creating more literacy around ranked choice voting? And if you have any information on that or anybody else also in the room. So just curious.
So I want to rephrase the question. So you wanted to ask if we were able to see improvements on improvements on like ballot marking errors being reduced with our RCV education materials?
Yeah, I guess so. And like what was the education materials and yeah.
Actually, I might need Jamie to join me on this because I'm not really in the partners and outreach team because they have their own like.
We have our own. Sorry, I'm Jamie. I'm the senior data scientist at the CFB. We have our own partnerships and outreach wing through NYC Votes. And so we've been working with them. Obviously, 2021 was a baseline year. 2023 was like a weird off year. So it's not exactly comparable. We did see a decrease in fatal ballot errors in 2023. But most people only had one RCV race on their ballot in 2023. So we're going to be looking at that, and we are going to, we do have, Kathryn showed our maps for the fatal ballot errors. So we are sending our outreach team to those specific council districts to focus their RCV education on. But so far we just haven't had enough, RCV elections to really be able to measure our impact yet.
I guess I was just wondering, like, what does RCV education look like today, right now, as it has? Is it mostly through digital?
So,
is it actually, like actually doing the ballots and testing?
We've been doing print materials as well as webinars, and we work with partners to, they're the experts in their, neighborhoods or districts. So we work with them to tell us, what is it that we need to be focused on in our like RCV education webinar.
Tailor it to different.
Yes. So that answers also your language accessibility question as well. We're really working on that as well. Anything else, Sophie?
I had a question about if the participatory budgeting program is being has collected for data.
The participatory program?
Like that's right? Participatory budget? Yeah. Is that being
City council one or the citywide?
Is it not for every city council or?
No, there's two participatory budgeting processes.
I just know like where I was registered, they had a program. Like, does that have data it's getting collected on? Like,
we don't have that data collected.
But it's collected, I think it's collected by the city, CEC collects their budgeting process data.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's open data though.
It's not open data yet, hopefully at some point.
Yeah, I believe it's now.
But the city council one, I'm not sure.
I don't-
They've also.
They publish findings, I think. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think there's one more question first.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Hi, next question.
I was just going to ask, when can we expect similar data to this to be published in the open data platform for the 2025 primary election?
Well, I can actually that's definitely we can actually upload are you curious about the ranking score in particular?
Yeah. When you were going through and, you kind of had it listed out by, methods of voting and each district. I thought it was a really interesting data set. Just curious, the elections in June, right? When can we expect to sort of see that data?
We can actually like upload that ranking score information online if that's something that you're interested in. I believe on open data, we also like have a data set of our participation score research. So that's actually a great idea. And like, that's something like I would like to consider for the next, for the open data portal. Oh, Jamie?
Add to that, for the actual cast vote records, they're usually available in like July after certification of the RCB election. So you'll see that coming in July this year.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
They won't be clean like we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to send me an email if you have any questions on how to use it. Like, it was pretty terrifying, like the first few months, but I feel like I'm pretty confident. Okay, next question.
I guess I did want to re-clarify. Sorry, should I speak into something? Just to make sure things are recorded for everyone. I wanted to ask again about the process. I think you explained it, but I just need the recap of like, you said you had these 12 data sets and like merging them all together and cleaning it. Like, not to make you go into your presentation again, but could you like walk through the steps one more time of like what that was? And it took you 5 months, you said.
Oh, it's just because like there's just so, it's just the way it's organized just makes it so hard to like maneuver through it. But like so like as I mentioned earlier, like the data set, well in 2023, when I worked with it, it was separated, it was in 12 cast vote record files separated by ballot type and borough. This like meta information column just identifies where that data point for that voter came from. And it was a little bit complex to work with because multiple ballot ranking candidates were reflected in multiple files. So we had to like figure out a way to put everything together in concise format. And like one complicated aspect with like working with the data set is that like there's like one set of five columns for each race. So like that's just like, it just makes it really complex when you want to do overall analysis, for example, on the council races. So just imagine, I believe in 2023, there were 24 city council races. So imagine 24 sets of these. So like, that's just like a lot to like refer to when you want to like look at council elections. So as I mentioned in this slide where, oh, sorry, let me try to move this. Okay. As I mentioned in this slide, like you kind of see a cleaner column. Just imagine all those, for example, the Democrat, I believe the Democratic City Council races, there were 21. Imagine all those 21 races jumbled into one, just for simplicity. Like, so that's just an example of like how we try to make the file more manageable. But yeah.
Thank you. And you said it's July where you have those files available, but it's not the clean.
Clean them,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
haven't put them together.
Yeah.
So also, like you see for the Dem council member choice 105-024-307, like for some reason the BOE adds like an individual tag for each election. We have to get rid of those in order to create an entire file for the city. Things like they add undervotes even if you're not eligible for that election. So we have to clean that up. We have to sort of guess what people's political party is. We have to add other political districts based on their ADED. It's things like that that takes 5 to 6 months.
Oh yeah, I did forget to note that these 6-digit numbers that you're seeing for each of these choices, they belong to a candidate. The cast vote record doesn't explicitly state the candidate's name, so each candidate in the record has their own ID number. So that's why you don't see any names on this. It's just like 6 digits. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining all that.
Oh yeah,
I just wanted to know, what do you use? What like languages or software do you use to do this?
We typically utilize R for our analyses. So yeah.
Thank you.
Is it a law that all this data has to be made available? And is it like a New York City law or New York State? And is there any talk of threat to that availability?
This data set's publicly available on the New York City Board of Election website. I did mention it earlier, but let me double check. I mean, it's required by law that this be made available by. I believe so.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's a transparency issue. And so you can also see like San Francisco has RCV, Minneapolis, and they also have their own cast vote records.
I was just wondering if there was any threat to this openness.
Sophie is our policy manager. She hasn't heard any threat, so great.
I would guess that it's legally mandated statewide.
Is this data, the Board of Elections is this a state or city entity? Board of Elections.
This is a New York City Board of Elections.
Okay, the City Board of Elections.
But they operate out of the state.
Okay.
It's confusing. We work with, we're a city agency. So we're an independent, we're the campaign finance board. So we're independent from the mayor, but we are a New York City agency.
Oh, next.
For identifying the voters, like, can you follow a voter through multiple elections? Will they keep the same ID?
Jamie said no. Yeah, I think the ID changes. I think the point of it is just so it's an anonymized table. So like it's just the point of this is just for you to look how like every voter utilized their rankings, but you can't really like keep track of these voters because it's anonymized. Okay, I guess that's it. All right, I guess that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.